Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well out there in nerdy land. We've got a lot of cool stuff to get into today. You see the thumbnail. You see the title. We're going to be talking about the He-Man controversy. I'm not alone, of course, as I am joined by one Paul of the Heavy Spoiler Clan.
Batman. I'm Batman, but also James Bond as well.
Batman and James Bond? That's good.
In one.
Dang, that's impressive. I mean, I would wish I was either one of those, to be honest with you. I'm just the guy that the camera keeps flipping off. So
I've noticed you've positioned my head so I look like a little tiny head just popping in. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, no, I thought
you bring me on this show, you make me look like a fool.
That's exactly the plan. I was like, I gotta just sneakily try to like just get some of Paul's like followers and whatnot just by popping them in like tiny head like that. So
I look like an actual Funko Pop amongst the background.
Nice, dude. For sure. So, you know, I saw a tweet from you the other day, and this is kind of what spawned my desire to do this stream exactly with you, because we will talk about the He-Man controversy and get into that a little bit as well. But you sort of had made the point that all of these other pop culture, you know, franchises and whatever, many of them have done different things like this, right? Where they try to sort of either subvert expectations or do a big, you could call it a twist if you're being really generous, I think. But really, I do think it's like a subverting of expectations, you know?
Well, I kind of got into this debate where basically I was talking about how lots of different film properties and TV shows recently have subverted expectations, which is where they take something, you think it's going to go one way, and they've actually changed quite a lot of it, so it's not very much like the original thing. Now, the examples I mentioned were obviously He-Man. Haven't seen it. Disclaimer, just seen a lot of people kicking off about it and thought, you know what, I'm going to avoid all that. The Last Jedi, obviously, killing John Connor. I can't remember the other examples that I said, but a lot of times it's where it's to me the difference between that and a twist, which people were saying, well, Darth Vader being Luke's father, that was subverting expectations. To me, that was a twist. Where it's kind of, you know, the story builds towards that and it all kind of makes sense. Whereas to me, subverting expectations is where you take something established, advertise it as being in a certain way. It's clearly going towards a certain direction, and then it's just a breakneck change. So like Joel in The Last of Us Part 2, spoiler alert, gets killed within the first 20 minutes of the game or whatever. But all of the marketing for the game, it made it look like he was in the entire thing. And it was already part of an established thing where, you know, it wasn't necessarily part of the story, if that makes sense. Whereas the Darth Vader thing, or like other people were saying, the Sixth Sense, they were like, the Sixth Sense subverted expectations. No, everything in the Sixth Sense kind of built towards that twist because you had a boy who could see dead people, and there's a doctor who's trying to cure him. And, you know, also he discovers along the way that he's actually dead, and they kind of help one another because this boy's been scared of ghosts. It could potentially ruin his life. The doctor had dealt with a patient who had the same thing, and he ended up killing him. And it's kind of, you know, righting the wrongs of the past. Dr. David Dunn, I think it was, he couldn't save that first boy who went crazy, shot him, and then shot himself. And he's getting redemption in Haley Joel Osment. Haley Joel Osment could end up like that boy, going crazy, killing people and then killing himself. But because David's a ghost who's nice to him, they both find redemption. The story builds towards that. So the twist at the end, it's not just subverting expectations, it's a twist. Whereas I feel subverting expectations is just, here's a character you really like. They're definitely going to be in it. Wait, they're dead.
Yeah, for sure.
And here's someone else. So
so I think that for me, like, I think that's a great point, and I would say another difference in those, like the Darth Vader thing, and even the Sixth Sense, really, is that those are not pre-established IP that had followings, right? So like at the time, Star Wars was like creating its lore, right? Like it was like that was just the beginning. The Sixth Sense is a new IP. It's not like you had all these other Sixth Sense movies, and I think that Hollywood, you know, like it seems like they almost in an attempt to deny that they just are so reductive and they're just going to continue to recycle ideas and different things. It's like they can only think, in my opinion, a lot of the time only like one layer deep, and they're just like, okay, so here's this thing, how do we do a fresh take on this? What if we completely did not what, you know, the thing is like, essentially,
Yeah.
like it's just this baseline sort of reduction of what a thing is, and then they think that's somehow like creative to me. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
franchises have done this. But you know, to your other point about the marketing, that's a huge part of it. I don't know what the perfect answer is there, because it's almost like if you just market it, like I saw a lot of people with the Kevin Smith thing say, if you had just marketed it as a Tila show, it would have been better, or like we would have been fine, or like Masters of the Universe or whatever. And it's like I kind of see that, but I also see the other side of it where it's like, dude, like nobody is gonna know that. You know what I mean? Like nobody
Yeah.
knows who Tila is. Like a lot of the hardcore He-Man people do for sure. And you know, people on the Discord this morning sort of helped me and illuminated the lore a little bit to me. And she makes sense if you follow that show. But most people have like a base level understanding of He-Man. They've seen toys, they've seen T-shirts, they've seen whatever. They don't really know much about it. You're I don't know if you could have advertised it as a Tila show and gotten it to pop the way that you would with a He-Man, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely not. But then why make a Tila show if you don't think it's going to be popular or do well?
Yeah. No, that's the
I
other
think a
side
lot of it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is when it's handed over to another creator who isn't necessarily the person who started everything. Like killing John Connor, that was the guy whose name slipped my mind. The guy who made Deadpool.
Oh yeah,
Though
Tim
James
Miller.
Cameron Tim
Yeah.
Miller. So though James Cameron sort of oversaw, you know, the plot, it was Tim Miller making those decisions. And it was the same with The Last of Us, where Neil Druckmann took over the project over Amy Hennig, I think it was. The Last Jedi was obviously Ryan Johnson taking over from J.J. Abrams, who took over from George Lucas. And I think it's when these creative people take over and they want to leave their mark. And what's the best way to leave your mark on something? Kill off the most established character in the franchise and replace it with someone else who you can really make your own, because no one's bothered with them in the past.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And so I see a lot of you know, commentary in the comment section. I know that people on the live stream, and I know people are sort of heated on this subject. And I just want to say, like, my general take on the show, because I really like to try to be objective about these sort of things. So I'm not like super like anti SJW, you know what I mean? And I'm definitely not like super like left leaning with like my identity politics and stuff like that. I would consider myself like I wave the banner of like just your normal ass nerd, right? Like I'm not really into playing those games or whatever. But with the He-Man show, it was like that narrative sort of was out there before the show even came out. And I know that a lot of the controversy for this show kind of stems from a YouTube channel that broke leaks, rumors, and a lot of different things about the show. And then it seemed like Kevin Smith came out and said that those things were not true. And I've seen like both sides of this. I've seen people say like, well, Clownfish said a ton of different things and Kevin was probably rebuking maybe some of those, which is fair. But I've also literally seen like Kevin Smith saying on social media, it's a He-Man centric show. Guys, just objectively speaking, it is not a He-Man centric show. Like it is just not. Like,
but it's also just part one at the moment, though, isn't it?
That's true.
You don't know how
fair.
part two is going to be.
Do we know? Do we know how, or when rather, the next 5 episodes are going to drop? Do we know that?
No,
do we have that? Yeah,
I've literally avoided as much of it as I can.
Yeah,
I don't, except for coming on live streams and talking about it.
Yeah, except for me, like weaseling you into it. I was like, "Come on, man, let's take my hand. Let's go to Controversy Town."
And that's purely because I saw how passionate the fans were getting, and I just thought I've not got the knowledge base to tackle this show and do it justice, because it was a little bit before my time, He-Man, 2 or 3 years. I think it was one of those things where I played with the top. So I had a cousin, bit older than me. I would say cousin. it wasn't related, but
Yeah.
you know, it's like your mom makes you call his mom auntie and uncle and
Right.
stuff like
Yep.
that.
Yep. Yep.
He was about 3 or 4 years older than me. Went around his house, played He-Man, got some of them myself, and then stopped playing with toys. And it was one of those things that I didn't really jump back onto. Whereas like Marvel, Batman, that sort of thing, James Bond, obviously, as I've mentioned, because I am him. Jump back onto those, but I didn't jump back onto He-Man.
Yeah.
Even Transformers, I jumped back onto. You know what I mean? But
Interesting.
He-Man, I just didn't jump back onto, and I don't have the knowledge. I don't remember what
Yeah.
happened
Yeah. So I
2 years ago, let alone 30.
Yeah, I have like no knowledge base, but apparently, so a couple things just for the record out there for the nerdy people, and we have a poll going on right now on whether or not Kevin Smith lied, and I would totally appreciate you guys voting on that poll, and I want to check it at the end of the stream and see where we're at with it. But Sheila, who is I think the main character of the show, Sheila.
Do you mean Tila?
Oh, Tila. Yeah,
I know
sorry.
more than you.
Freudian
That's
slip.
the Australian version.
Right? That's funny. Tila is a very important character in the original lore. And apparently the lore surrounding her is really, really cool and will likely have a big part of what's to come, right? Like to something that will happen. And she's apparently the sorcerer of Grayskull. Spoiler warning to everybody that's out there. But
What?
yeah, sorry, bro. She's the daughter of the sorcerer, and apparently Duncan is just her adopted father. And so she's got like hella Grayskull magic, basically, right? Which is awesome, and like it kind of makes more sense now, like looking at the show. But here's my real feelings about the show. My ultimate, like my hot take on the show. Like because I thought about it a lot, man, and people are going crazy on this. Kevin Smith just did a live stream a couple of days ago where he was like trying to explain it, and like fans are going hard at him. Like he is getting a lot of hate. You know what I mean? And so I thought a lot about it. I watched the show. Here's my ultimate feelings about the show. I think the show comes right up to the edge of greatness, but doesn't walk over it, and therefore does not earn the obvious controversy that I think it was stepping into. So essentially, my biggest condemnation of the show is not actually the controversy. It's that I don't think the show's dope enough to warrant such controversy, because I think it should. The whole team should have known. Dude, just in the day and age we live in, like, you just gotta know that doing this and engaging the fans in this way was going to come with flack. Now, flack can be good, and I will say that I think this show is sort of blowing up from the negativity and from the controversy.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that translates into an actual following. And I think more concerning for someone like Kevin Smith should be, I think this could legitimately hurt his own personal fan base, because, like, it's sort of like one of those know your audience sort of things. I mean, this guy got famous for doing like dirty jokes and making fun of pop culture and basically being just a big sweaty nerd. And now it just feels like years removed from that, he is very different and in ways talking like down to fans. You know what I mean? So my ultimate take on it is like, the show's cool. Like, I actually enjoyed it. But there was a lot of cringy stuff, and there was just stuff that I thought was whack. The 80s lines were actually pretty funny. They did a lot of like really ridiculous 80s humor. But other than that, I mean, the show doesn't do it for me. And I think that one of the things that's kind of sucky about it is maybe there is an incredible amount of He-Man coming in the back half. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, and hopefully. And that could really turn things around maybe for the whole thing. But man, it's just, they kill He-Man twice, not once, twice. They got good.
Get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
Make them all women,
dude.
Make it She-Man.
That's pretty much what it is, Paul.
I want to see.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, yeah. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment. I do like Kevin Smith, though. I listen to Fat Man Beyond podcast. I've been listening to his podcasts for years and years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's fine. He's normally quite positive, where I think Mark Bernardin's quite negative towards things, and they kind of balance each other out. Not negative, but more critical whereas Kevin Smith's like, this is amazing and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
think,
know. It's difficult. Obviously, I mean, I've seen articles where people have gone back and been like, on this 26th of May, 2020, you said in this podcast at 14 minutes that you weren't really a big He-Man fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like that. It is kind of like, should you really be taking franchises that you're not a fan of and just kind of coming in and messing up? But saying that, you can also do that and create something amazing out of it.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok.
For sure.
I tell you what, I've been rewatching the MCU, Thor and Thor: The Dark World. Not good films. Putting it out there. Not very good films. I know that's a crazy hot take, and someone can come in and shake things up, like Taika Waititi did, and make something really good. But yeah, it's always a risk you take. But I do quite like Kevin Smith. Yeah. But I just saw all the negative press around it, and I just saw the typical, anti-SJW YouTubers making 25 videos a day about how He-Man's ruined. And they don't like He-Man. They're just mining for clicks. They're just going after rage bait.
For sure. I totally agree with you.
And I just avoided it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that my wider point on that is that, because you're right, and I have my own issues with like rage bait and that sort of stuff, and it just kind of sucks that is a reality of our culture, on social. But I think the flip side of that is like, how do you not know that? Like, how do you not, as a producer and as someone that claims to be like in touch with fans, because I really don't think it's a small percentage of people. Like, if you look at the views on the videos of people that are raging about it, it's a lot, you know what I mean? And so it just seems
but sometimes, like, I've watched some of them and I didn't watch the show, but I watched people kicking off about it. So I don't know if that translates naturally. I think a lot of people just get pulled in by rage bait.
Oh yeah.
Especially when people are saying this is the new Last Jedi. It's the new Last Jedi. We're so angry.
I know, right?
Yeah. And it's just, I think I get pulled into that sometimes because I'm like, what's all the fuss about?
Exactly. So, but that's the thing is, like, how do you not know that? Like, I guess what I'm saying is this: if I were like some kind of an advisor on this project or something like that, I'd be like, oh, dude, like, we're gonna go this way and it's gonna be dope, and we're gonna be prepared for this, and we're gonna back it up with this, you know what I mean? Or like, here's what you say. So like, I think one of my favorite, like, obviously, like, I stand Kevin Feige, right? And like his handling of a lot of this stuff, although he's made some weird comments recently too, but his handling on a lot of the rumor stuff is like, some of the rumors you've heard online are true, some of them aren't. You know what I mean? And I think that would have been so much better than Kevin Smith coming out and because like Screen Rant did an article about it based on the leaks. And he came out hard on Screen Rant, and it's like, dude, like, I'm sorry, like, I try to be as objective as possible, dude. It's not a He-Man centric show, like, and I know it's the first half of it or whatever, but then why wouldn't you say that? Like, hey, the first half of the show is not He-Man centric, you know what I mean? Or something to that effect. It just feels like the denial of the reality of the internet is pretty foolish, you know.
And we had a similar situation with The Last of Us Part 2, where that game leaked really early and people were furious. Even I was furious. I was like, you've done what? You've killed Joel and we've got to play as Abby. Who the... I tell you. And and they kind of denied the leaks were true as well. But it was like, we've seen gameplay footage of Joel getting his head caved in.
Yeah.
I don't know how...
You can deny.
And it just makes it worse. You shouldn't, because then that becomes a whole another story where people are like, well, Kevin Smith lied, and that makes him sound like a dishonest person when he was probably just trying to kind of, keep excitement and the wonder around the show high. I don't see it as lying as much. I just see it as, he was backed into a corner. There was two options he had. Well, he could say, yes, these leaks are true. And I'm spoiling the show right now. Or he could say, they're not true. Please watch the show. Or he could say, they might be true.
Yeah, I would say, like, again, just going back to the Kevin Feige of it all, like, why not say, like, hey, we know there's a lot of rumors and
Because
stuff
not
out
everyone's
there.
Kevin Feige.
I know, brother. I
The
do.
world's shown that. The
The world,
movie industry
dude,
has shown that.
the
Even
internet shows
Warner
it every
Brothers, like,
day.
look how Warner Brothers handled stuff. Like the day
True,
after the
true.
Snyder Cut release, they're like, "This is a dead end. Nothing's gonna happen."
I know.
Tell you what, fans, up yours.
But that's
Thanks
the
for
thing. It's a
watching.
lot of petty. You know
And
what I mean?
and
It
Feige
feels.
seems to handle it much better than everyone else does.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
concur. I
so
concur with that. So let me ask you this then, because this is sort of the obvious question. I feel as though the people that, like, sort of the flip side of this, the steel man, if you will, argument for the other side of this, is that if you just do the same thing over and over again, you fall into the
oh,
nostalgia
it's
trap.
boring.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
boring, right? So what's the move? What's the balance? Or like what? Because like you and I just live in fandom, bro. We live in fandom like every day. What do
Mm.
you think? What do you think these studios or Hollywood people should do? Like if they were asking your perspective on it, you know?
Make it good. I don't think people mind expectations being subverted as long as it's good. I really don't. And the weird thing about the He-Man show is that it's got very good critical reviews, but the fan reviews are really bad. So it's difficult to weigh up. But The Last of Us Part 2, hey, when I heard the leaks, I'm telling you, Josh, I even made a Get Woke Go Broke video about it. And then I played the game and I was like, oh, it's quite good. I
Yeah.
really enjoy this game.
Yeah,
So just make it good, I would say.
yeah.
5 episodes, though, which are 25 minutes long or whatever, that's difficult to do. Very difficult.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it was originally like the 10 episode thing and Netflix made them split it up so that they could. You know what I mean?
It's a
It just
cool,
seems like a marketing
yeah,
move.
yeah. It's very interesting. I think the cliffhanger that they have is pretty cool, and there's some really cool. Like the thing that I was really split on the show as I was watching it, and I really couldn't get the narrative out of my head. Right, like as much as I tried to just go in open, the narrative's there, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm looking to see if Kevin Smith lied. You know what I mean? Basically, that's what it is. Like I'm
Yeah.
watching the show.
Did he
and
lie?
I feel like he
You're pulling
lied,
up
bro.
the old tweets whilst you're watching it.
Bro,
You're like, did he lie?
I feel like he lied. I
Said,
mean, look,
yeah.
if I had to vote on the poll that we currently have, I would say
But
yes.
what were his options? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He either could say, yeah, these leaks are true, you caught me, or no, they're not true.
yeah.
So he was backed into a corner.
He's backed into a corner for sure.
Like how many I mean, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, how many times have they denied that they're in the new Spider-Man movie?
True, but why then?
And
Here's the thing I don't understand. I
will
feel
they be
as though,
liars when they come out and they
yeah,
go,
because
hey everyone,
for
we're
sure.
in the movie. We
But
lied.
I feel like they're gonna say they lied. They're gonna admit that they lied. Do you know what I mean? Like
We
they're
did
gonna
it
they're
in the
gonna be like,
movie.
yeah, we lied. But Kevin's like not doing that. Kevin's basically saying like the opposite. He's taking it as an affront, right? Where he's like, hey, this vocal minority of people are
Scumbags.
yeah, like basically he's really saying like, and to be honest, like that's a mistake too. Like unfortunately from the brand perspective, you just always have to take the high ground. You know what I mean? Like basically
Yeah.
if people are gonna come at you hard, like it is just like you're never gonna look good. Like you'll literally never look good as a company or as a person.
That guy who was arguing for the Indiana Jones 5 director,
Yeah.
who was arguing with that guy on Twitter
Oh, I
last
know.
week.
He looks so
Like, bro,
like
just
I
leave
love
it.
that director, but like,
leave it.
bro, that is such a bad look.
Yeah.
Like it's such
I love him as well.
Yeah.
It's just like
It shows
I'm
that they're
actually a bit
human.
like the British Indiana Jones in a way.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize. Where's
So-
are the Funkos all the things that you've stolen?
All the treasures, yeah.
All the treasures from
My
everything?
Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just don't argue with people on Twitter because I mean, me and you've said off air when we've got into arguments with people in comments, the next day we've always regretted it
Always.
because you win the argument, nothing good comes from it. If you lose the argument, you look like an idiot. So Smith shouldn't have engaged with it. He should have just because it's the Streisand effect as well, where he's trying to play down these rumors, but he's bringing more attention to them.
Yeah.
And people are screenshotting it and keeping receipts.
Yeah.
So if he had not, if he'd not acknowledged those leaks, all that would have happened would have been, oh well, those leaks were true. But because he argued with people and said, these people are idiots, they're wrong, this isn't what happens. People have got screenshots of that. They're now angry about it as well because they've been called out on Twitter, so they're keeping those receipts. And yeah, he's just kind of lost. There's no way to win.
Yeah.
So just don't get into an argument.
So let me
This is why you don't see celebrities arguing with people all day
for
on
sure,
Twitter.
For sure. So let me ask you this question. This is really, I think, because maybe he's brilliant. Maybe Kevin Smith is just a freaking genius. But what happens if the next 5 episodes come out and He-Man gets killed like a third time, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like for real, like what's gonna happen then? Like how
crazy?
Because he didn't just
same
say,
situation again.
But this time I think it's even worse because he just got on his own podcast and said, you're gonna get more He-Man than you think you ever wanted. Is basically like what he's saying. So he's like doubling down. And if it's not that way, like that is a bad look, bro. You know what I mean? In my opinion, of course, but
yeah. Just stop talking about it, Kevin. Yeah. People are going to watch it probably. Mm-hmm. Just stop talking, please. But he likes to talk, that guy. And obviously he's got lots of platforms like his podcast. Yeah. He's going to get asked about it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So he probably feels like he has to talk. And the guy does like talking.
He does it for a living in a lot of ways. He's like the OG, bro. We wouldn't probably even be doing this if like he hadn't done, some of his stuff for sure. Yeah.
You lot of respect. That guy's stand up. Yeah, he's great. You watch the guy stand up, you put a penny in him, you're gonna get 2 hours worth of material off the head.
Yep.
Yeah, he's good, but he just needs to think. I think this is kind of the difference between an exec as well and I don't want to say comedian, but a public figure like Kevin Smith. Kevin Feige's an exec, and he always delivers things with an executive mentality of, here is the movie that is coming. It's going to be a good time. Whereas Kevin Smith will probably be like, we're going to have blasts and Tila's going to have no girlfriend, but you want to check it out if you're going to see it. He just puts on that voice and goes, you got to be there, got to see there, got to take it all in, make it all win.
Yeah.
And he's just constantly, he's kind of selling his stuff. So obviously when people have a negative reaction to it, he probably naturally thinks, I've got to downplay this and deny whatever they're having a negative reaction to, which is all the Tila stuff. But how did Netflix stuff even leak out? I've had no Netflix leaks ever given to me on anything ever. I don't understand how it got out. But shout out to that guy for getting the leaks.
Shout out to them for getting the leaks. I would say that it's likely, in my experience, when this kind of stuff leaks, it's usually someone disgruntled. Like for this type of a situation, it's probably someone that was like, "This is bull crap," you know what I mean? And so they wanted to leak it out.
This is in America.
Yeah, this is woke city or whatever, you know what I mean? And they're trying to just put it out there to different people like that. And because again, and this is the thing that I think is, like, again, you can get angry about it and you can be like, "Oh, it's not right," and yeah, totally, I get it, it's not. But at the same time, that you just gotta, like, in the Zen sense, that's what the world is. And it's not just people that are online watching this stuff. It's people that work at these studios. It's people that it's all kinds of people. I think there's I'm not saying it's good, healthy, or even reasonable, but things are very polarized right now. You know what I mean? And like all across the world. And so I just think that to deny that, right? Or to say, I don't care if people through some sort of lens don't like this. I really think that's like arrogant and it's like egotistical because it's basically saying that like my perspective on this is the true one and anybody that doesn't see it the same way, well, screw them. And it almost, and this is like extending it probably further than it is, but it's almost like when you have, like, if you all love He-Man seems really niche to me, right? So like I would imagine if you're a big He-Man fan and you're out and about and you see someone with like a He-Man tattoo, that shit's dope for you. You're probably like, this is awesome. And there's a camaraderie there between nerds. And it almost feels like in some ways, the attitude that he's espousing now is like, I do not care about that brotherhood-like feeling that brought all these nerds together. I literally don't care about that. And if you don't like the Tila show, then you're not a real fan. You know what I mean? And I'm, of course, exaggerating. And you're a racist, right? So it's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit.
I wouldn't say he said that, but
Well, you heard it here. I mean, that's what Paul
allegedly
from Heavy Spoilers
I'm alleging,
quote it and put it on
and
Twitter.
if he didn't, he's lying. And I'm making a video saying Kevin Smith lied about being a racist.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I'm looking forward to that video now, so I don't.
Making it right now. I'm writing the script.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of my thoughts on it. But let's see what the thoughts of the chat are. Let's get into some Q&A, guys. And if you have some thoughts on this, throw it on into a super chat. We'll go over all the super chats we can within reason. We'll hang for probably like a half hour here, and then we'll get on out of here. Of course, if you don't have any loot, don't worry about it. I understand. Times are hard, so just throw your question into the chat. And we will get into some of those as well. I think Elisa started the super chats off with a crazy little British humor thing. I'm gutted to see these naff corporations writing dodgy scripts, acting like they're proper skint and mugging off content creators and their exclusives. Think I'm going to sack off He-Man and watch Sherlock instead. How British was that on a scale from 1 to 10?
In your accent, not very British, but pretty British, yeah. But yeah, she's right. Like, why, if you're gonna do something else and make it totally different to what it was originally, why bother? Just create something new. They're kind of trying to bank on the fandom, but then also saying screw the fandom. If they don't like it, they're idiots. Like, just leave it. Just do something, similar to what we've already had. Make a couple of changes, do some character development. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't bank on the fandom watching your stuff and then turn around and say you guys are wrong for hating this.
Yeah, it feels a little two-faced, like to
make something new.
Yeah, exactly. Like make a new IP and go for it. You know what I mean? But yeah, like it does feel a little two-faced because it's like we want that attraction that the IP has, but we're not gonna give what the expectation of bringing that IP back is, which feels it just feels two-faced, like, you know what I mean, or at least disconnected, you know what I mean, from
that's what happened with Terminator, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They wanted people to watch Terminator because Linda Hamilton and John Connor were back, and then they killed John Connor and said, look, you like those first two movies, they're pointless now. Pointless. It was pointless saving John Connor because we killed him anyway. So yeah,
I feel like they really didn't think that through.
Just so stupid, yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad one.
Do you like John Connor? Yeah, well, he's dead. Do you like Danny, the new character? Not who? Not really. You're gonna like her.
You're gonna like her, and if you
you're
don't,
a sexist.
You're a sexist. I know. Yeah, unfortunately, it feels like that's sort of the reductive thinking of a lot of the studios and stuff. It kind of sucks.
Well, like even the other week, I made that Taskmaster sucks video, which I stand by. Taskmaster and Black Widow is not a good character.
Correct.
And it's not because it's a woman.
Correct.
It's just there's no what is the character?
Yeah, it's not a character.
What is what is her character? She has one line in the whole movie and is basically just a robot. Which I said, look, that's disappointing for me because I was expecting Taskmaster to be what he is in the comics. Don't care if it's a woman, and people are like, you sexist piece of crap. I was like, look, I don't like Dreykov either. I think Dreykov's bad. You sexist piece of crap. I'm never watching Heavy Spoilers again. I'm like, look, this is the first video I've ever made really critiquing a female character. You're a sexist.
Right.
And studios do kind of get like that. Like when Black Widow was getting negative reviews, people were getting called sexist, and it's like, no.
That's the biggest, dude. That's the biggest mistake that Lucasfilm made. Was that they let their own employees say those things, and not a little, a lot. I think JJ said it on late night television, bro. Like he was literally like, yeah, there's a contingent of fans out there that don't like that the new character is female, and we understand that. And I'm just like, what? Like that's not what's going on there. I mean, maybe that's what's going on in a very, very small minority of fans.
Yeah, there will be some people doing it, but
for sure. But
if you bring valid criticisms, you're just like, here are some valid criticisms of your movie and your characters and why they didn't work for me. Like, whoa, get rid of that. It's because you're sexist.
Yeah.
Like, no, just like I'm sure the He-Man. There'll be people who are sexist about it being Teela, but there'll be a lot of people who are like, well, I actually had quite fond memories of He-Man, and you've kind of just taken him and crapped on him. And I've noticed this happening a lot in things I like recently.
Yeah, so I
So
mean,
can
how
you
can you
please stop
really
doing it?
blame fans for feeling that
It's
way?
almost
You know what I
becoming
mean?
a cliche, subverting expectations. To be honest,
Yeah, I think it is.
a lot of when a lot of stuff gets rebooted now, I instantly think someone's going to get killed, John Connor,
Mhm.
and they're going to get replaced by someone I don't care about.
Yeah, it's
And
sad,
then
but I
I'm going to
think
be
that
told to
is.
like them, and if I don't like them, I'm a sexist or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and
It's like, no, please,
on the record of
just
Taskmaster too, I totally agree with you because people kept saying like, oh, people don't like female Taskmaster. And I'm like, bro, that character isn't even female Taskmaster. Like, if you
yeah,
took the Taskmaster character and made that character female, it would have been arguably way better than what they did because it would have still
yeah,
been the
like
character.
Flag Smasher.
Yeah, like exactly. Well, the flag match I
Flag
thought were
Smasher,
yeah,
yeah, but she's better than Flag Smasher in the comics. Like
yeah,
Flag
that's
Smasher
true.
in the
That's true.
comics isn't a good character, and
Yeah,
they actually took her and made her into. You might not like, her,
the plot I just
her
thought was
character
weak.
in
That's all.
general. Yeah, exactly. But they definitely improved on the character,
Hmm.
and that was a woman. So
Yeah,
there's your sexist guys.
there's your sexist guys.
But yeah, the Taskmaster was just nothing,
Yeah.
and it sounds like He-Man doesn't have much of a role. John Connor dead. Joel in The Last of Us. Loved the guy. He was an evil guy, but I loved him. I loved
Yeah.
playing as him. I felt fine killing people.
Yeah.
And yeah, they killed him.
Yeah.
And then said, look, you're Abby now. You're Abby. And I was like, I don't want to be Abby. I want to be Joel. I've just spent $60 on this game. Please.
Please, let me just be who I want. All right. Wesley Snipes, yeah, says, I'm here for some nerd venging, my guy. Also, what's your favorite cheese? Burrata. What's your favorite cheese? Paul?
Jeez. Halloumi, probably. Probably halloumi,
I don't even know what that is. It sounds real fancy.
Mm.
I want to check that out. The real Jesse Lee
Well, look
Reed
at this.
says, Loki episode 6, the castle carved out of the asteroid with those lighter color mineral veins is the Eternals spaceship made out of the same rock. Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
what do you think
That's
about
pretty
that?
good. Yeah, it could definitely be. Definitely.
I'm interested
It's quite
in
an old mineral as well.
I'm just interested in how the Eternals is going to tie into everything. It feels like it's really different than like all the multiversal stuff we're hearing,
Very different.
Yeah, so I'm interested in how that's going to happen. I feel bad for Marvel because those films do feel so out of time now. Like Shang-Chi and Eternals and Black Widow. Like they're so out of
It's
time.
not what people care about.
Yeah.
We want to see the multiverse.
Yeah, we want to see that Spider-Man stuff, man. Paul, you know what I'm saying, Paul? Anyway,
Some of us may have seen it.
Paul, no, don't. Stephen Brooks with a $5 holla says, I got to give Kevin some slack since it's just half the show. Maybe it's He-Man centric, like Funeral for a Friend or Superman's story about his loss. I think that's totally fair. Again, I do want to judge the show in its entirety, but at the same time, they knew, I assume they knew that they were going to release only half of it at a time. So, like, for them to not expect,
Yeah. They should have ended it with a trailer or something for the next part.
yeah,
That would have fixed all the issues. Just end it with a trailer and say, look what's coming next time.
Yeah.
All the He-Man you want. But now we've built Teela up as a character as well. So we've taken this side character, we've built her up to be really important, and you're also getting He-Man as well. So enjoy it. But instead they just said, no, He-Man dead.
Yeah.
And now they're doing damage control, basically.
That's kind of what it feels like for sure. Kinsey Martin says creators seem to be hiding their mediocre ideas behind a force field of wokeness. So I totally understand that opinion. To me, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. To me, it's that it's like there is a tendency to try to avoid criticism. I think it's a very human thing to like try to like it's like confirmation bias, right? Like you're trying to or like dissonance, like you're trying to make sense of it. You're not a bad creator. You couldn't make a bad video. If this video is bad, there's got to be reasons, And we do this all the time. Like I do it. Is it the algo? Is it, this, that, or the other thing? But sometimes you do just make a bad video and sometimes you do just make a bad decision. And I think that ultimately there has been this weird tendency to sort of like try to put criticism under the umbrella of an ism to try to avoid actual criticism. I do think that's a real thing, but I don't think it's the same thing as them being like there's nobody in a room saying we can do all this mediocre shit and make it woke and people will love it. Like I don't think that's what's going on. You know what I mean? That's not what's happening. It's probably just more of a human thing where people are in the wake of criticism, they're just trying to shield themselves. I don't know. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously diversity is really important. And I think, there will obviously be a negative group of every single fandom that are just toxic no matter what. And I mean, I get it all the time where I'll get a one negative comment and I'll screenshot it and send it to my friends and say like, look what everyone's saying on my video, and it'll just be one person.
Yeah.
And sometimes their criticisms are valid. Like my audio on my Rick and Morty video yesterday was really bad. And someone said, you need to learn how to EQ. And I screenshot of that and I was like, oh, look, this guy thinks my audio is really bad. And to be fair, he had a point, but just the way it was worded, I was like, oh, it's a bit toxic.
Yeah.
But it probably wasn't even looking back. But obviously when the spotlight's on you and you're just getting hammered with lots of things, you do kind of look for ways to almost justify it. And the woke thing to me is just such an overused term right now that I mean, I barely use it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people like Loki got called woke all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? What? Like, how?
Well, in that way, I think the word has really lost a lot of its meaning because...
Yeah, because Loki was like, when you look at... if you stood back and looked at it and said, the white man's a hero.
Yeah.
The villains in it are a woman who really messes up at the end.
Yeah.
The main guy, the big evil, he's black.
Yeah.
The Ravonna Renslayer, person of color. They're like all the bad characters are women and people of color.
I know. I said this yesterday too, where I was like, if you really like, I'm not going to go there because I don't believe this, but if you really want to take it to that sort of deconstructionist place and like, oh, optics and all that shit. I mean, the show kind of I think it makes Sylvie look real bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it does. I mean? Really bad.
Yeah.
He Who Remains looks really bad as well. And the big villain that is Kang. So it's not like I've seen some people saying like, oh, Sylvie, this classic thing of replacing the white man hero. And it's like, no, Loki is still the main character.
Yeah, it's definitely
and he's the only one who comes out looking okay at the end.
Yeah.
Even though he wanted to become a dictator.
Well, I think that some of the people, and I saw some of this on a stream yesterday, they were saying like, the thing is that he's just so broken down. And I'm like, bro, that's like the best shit. Like to me, like breaking a character down.
Character development.
Oh my God. It's like amazing. Like that would be like in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise when the samurais are just whooping his ass before he like knows how to fight. That would be like calling that like racist against white people or some shit. You know what I mean? Just being like,
exactly,
got all these Asian characters just whooping his ass and like, dude, what? That's not what's happening here. Like this is character development. Like he doesn't know how to do this. Of course they're gonna destroy him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like the woke label is overused, but I also feel in opposite to that the ism label is overused when you have a criticism about something that's changed in a certain way.
Yeah.
So it's either you're sexist or you're racist. And it's like, no, I just genuinely think this one thing, Taskmaster's just not a good character. Yeah, and they're like, well, you're sexist.
Yeah.
You sexist scumbag.
Oh, I know. And I'm sure there's even people like in this chat that think or maybe not like think that, maybe there's some really ridiculous people that think that, but like even me saying like it's not a He-Man central show, there's some people out there that just see it differently and they're like, dude, it's all about He-Man. And I'm like, dude, that's fine. But then they take it a step further and they gotta like, this is why Josh thinks this. You know what I mean? And they wanna
exactly.
Like, sort of
this is your personal life where you beat women.
Right, exactly. Like, what's he hiding? Just out of frame, there's probably like I hate women posters and the He-Man woman hater club from friggin' Little Rascals.
You take down those Funko Pops behind me, and there's lots of I hate women posters.
Yeah, for sure. So Dirty Nap, I'm not gonna touch this whole question, brother, but he's basically saying that do you think that he's just saying that Tila could be the main hero and be He-Man? I do not think that's what they're going to do, actually. But I will say this. If they do that, if they go the full way with it, where she gets the Master Sword and then bulks out and becomes, like, literally She-Man, I mean, bro, like I'm just saying, like Kevin Smith's going to have some splaining to do because that is not the picture he's painting right now, you know?
Yeah, and it's going to be on his head. So, yeah, but we'll see how the writing is. I kind of want to wait until it's all over to watch it.
Yeah. That's a great. I would
But
love to
yeah,
know your opinion of
it's
that
going to be
after you see that.
controversial either way, isn't it? You can't win at this point.
At this point, it feels very much like he has set himself into a battle. You know what I mean? And like, dude, the internet, like the other side of this too is that I think sometimes people lose sight of how crazy the internet can be. Dude, the internet will be your friend one day and like hate your face the next. And like, you just don't, I don't think anybody has the clout anymore to just be like, well, everybody that is just saying these things is this one group. Like it's just so it's getting past that. Like people are just, I think, as crazy as and divided as everybody is, we can all acknowledge on either side when somebody steps into the arena, so to speak, right? Where they're like, I'm sticking my flag in the ground. And then it's then guess what it is? It's a fucking thing. It's a thing now. You know what I mean? Like for the foreseeable future. It's a thing when the next season comes out or the next half of the season. It's a thing. And I think Kevin did that. You know what I mean? Like, and the writing team and everybody, like they had to have seen it coming, in my opinion, you know. But,
yeah, definitely.
Nikki says here, and very generous $10, thank you so much, says, why do creators who insist on doing reboot sequels to classic franchise is always think killing or sidelining the main character would sit well with fans? Noticing a pattern here. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that, but yeah, it's... I don't know why they exactly think it.
No idea. It's obviously to make their mark, isn't it? They want to take this established franchise and make their mark. I mean, you look at the best comic book stories, it's always when someone's came in and drastically changed, or at least the most talked about.
Yeah.
You know, no one gets talked about for keeping things the same way.
Yeah.
It's always someone coming in and be like, that character's dead. She's now the main one. And if you don't like it, you're a sexist.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that...
That's how you're right. That's good writing.
I think you're right, Paul. I think it's a stamp. It's a little bit of an ego thing. And just trying to be a genius. A lot of artists, like, they want to be a genius and they want to just be seen as a genius. So it's a little bit of that, I think, too. Renee, with a very generous $10 hala, says, people that have issue with He-Man being woke have obviously never seen a Netflix animated show at all. Look at what they did with Voltron or She-Ra. All good show, in my opinion. Don't tell my wife about this. No worries, man. I get what you're saying. And again, I think it's a nuanced thing and people will probably fall, like your mileage may vary basically on how much this stuff bothers you. And I think that most people's social and political beliefs are sort of on a spectrum, right? So maybe the more you lean a certain way or the more you have certain tendencies, the more this stuff bothers you. And that I think is totally fair. Like that's not even, I don't even necessarily have a problem with that. But I think that, again, the framing of people and just stepping into it like that, I just think it's sort of a mistake. But Jay Mills says here, if you couldn't tell it was a man in Taskmaster suit by the movement, it wouldn't have felt so off. I don't know. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
When the CGI head, that floating head, when she unmasked and then you cut to the wide shot and it was her standing, well, him standing, but her head on the top.
Yeah.
I just looked at that and I thought, not good. They've not done it.
So you think they did, because there's a lot of rumors that the OT did. Yeah. Do you think that's what happened and then they just changed it?
I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest. You can never tell with this stuff. There's never anything legitimate that comes out unless you get a photo of him in the suit behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's fair.
No one's gonna know.
Yeah. Either way, just not executed that great. But I know, you know what the other thing about Black Widow is, dude? It gets the benefit of like I think for me, like I just can't go super hard on it because it just has the benefit of being like that pre-pandy movie, and it's fun. It's not like terrible. It's just I did think the pheromone thing was like one of the most whack things I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, really bad. Really bad.
So bad. But
just a mind control thing in general. I was like, you've literally got Black Widow, who's she's been part of the Avengers, but she's had to go on the run because of her beliefs. Just do that with Yelena. Just have Yelena see her sister standing up to her friends and families and her home because of her beliefs, and have Yelena say, you know what, maybe the Red Room isn't a good thing. I'm inspired by my sister and I'm gonna do this thing. But instead it's like, no, mind control. mind control, and you broke free of the mind control.
Yeah, it's kind of
so many better ways to do it.
For sure. Pretty Nikki says, "Good morning to two of my favorite nerds on the YouTubes, Paul and Josh. Take my money."
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Appreciate the love.
Yeah, shout out to Pretty Nikki. She always supports my videos, and I really appreciate it.
For
so
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. She's always very supportive over here as well. So thank you, Nikki. That's very nice. John White says, the very generous $10 holla, says, "Hey, Josh, good to see you teamed up with the friendly neighborhood spoiler man. Speaking of team-ups, did you see the article yesterday where Marvel plans team Doctor Doom with Kang Wang Elation? Thoughts?" John, please send me that on Discord. I have not seen that. Or are you talking about comics? Because maybe that's a thing in comics that's happening. They've teamed up before, actually. I used to have a hero clique that was Doctor Doom and Kang together. And, it was hard as nails. They were very powerful.
Well, they combined. He believed that Doom was one of his ancestors as well, didn't he?
He did,
Him and Reed Richards.
Yeah, he did. At one point, they actually think they're the same person. They think they're the same person, but they don't. They're like, but we're in the same place. How could this be? You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's some fun stuff with there. I mean, I think a lot of Doom's on the way, and dude, Wakanda Forever seems insane. You know what I mean? The more that we hear about it, it's just like, dude, this is bananas. Like, I have no idea how they're gonna make this all feel like it's. I mean, it feels like it's a lot. A lot's going on in that movie. Namor, possibly Doctor Doom. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you, John. Appreciate that. X3 says, "Kevin should just have said, yes, the leak is true, and I'm proud of the story we have made." And instead, he tried to split the difference. He got woke, but tried to not get the backlash. Really bad PR move. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I don't know if I would use necessarily the exact same framing, but I agree. I think that he basically, though he was put in a difficult situation, he chose poorly, in my opinion. I think probably just being quiet or saying like, judge the show for yourself when it comes out or something would have been the better move, in my opinion. So
yeah.
Zero Gravitas says, "Do you think the pressure is bad enough to make them release the second half early?" Nah, because I don't think Netflix cares. I honestly, that's one of the most real. Yeah. Well, also, apparently Kevin literally and had a conversation with them. Like he basically talked about this in one of his new streams where he said 5,000 to 10,000 people are really, really angry and writing like bad reviews and like really engaged on making it negative. But Netflix said this is great for the show because it's going to be very big publicity. Netflix is just a numbers machine algo game. Like they're in some ways even worse than YouTube, like with their algo and stuff, which is I think why we lost that Mark Millar show, which I thought was awesome. But yeah, dude, I don't think they care, and I don't think they're going to be pressured into releasing anything early.
No, never.
Yeah. "We've judged better with less SPs. It just sucks." We've judged better with less episodes. It just sucks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the show sucks. I just think it doesn't walk the walk enough to like earn its sort of swag. Like it's sort of, well, we're not doing the He-Man the way you want it swag. If it was just a little crazier, like honestly, like it's just too reductive. Like the animation's dope, but it doesn't go crazy enough for me. I could see how if you were a big He-Man fan, you would really, really love it. But then again, I could see how if you were a big He-Man fan, you would hate it. Like hate it. So it's, I don't know. It's a tough one, man. Let's see here. Piano Dan says, "Why did Smith have to address the leaks at all? If J.J. Abrams or Duckman had denied the leaks, it would have caused the same storm." Yeah, it's fair.
Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Because you bring more attention to it by acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Just ignore it.
Yeah, I think it's a totally fair point. All right, I'm going to fly through a couple of others just because I know we got to get Paul out of here. He's got to get back to being a Kevin spoiler man, you know? Matthew K says, "Last time y'all streamed, Paul was mum's the word on thoughts about Amazon Lord of the Rings show. Anything to share now?" Uh-oh.
No, nothing. Again, I work quite a lot with Amazon, so I just don't want to talk about. I'm basically doing what Kevin Smith should have done. So yeah, I work quite a lot with Amazon doing voiceover stuff from time to time. I say quite a lot. I've done like 3 videos, but
you got a professional relationship, but you don't want to put it in jeopardy. Yep, I totally get it. So I'll get all the secrets later, guys, and we'll talk about it on Discord. Okay, for Cuscala Lopez says, "For the very generous $100 of, I always forget what currency you got, brother, but appreciate it nonetheless. If I go to a pizza place and I order a pizza, but then I get served a bowl of tofu, Would I be wrong if I ask for my freaking pizza instead? Hollywood owes me a pizza or two by now. I think that's a pretty funny point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. I think it's fair.
You just gotta speak with your wallet, basically, and just hope enough other people do it as well.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
all you can do.
Yeah.
Because if the views on this stuff start dropping,
oh, Netflix
then
is going
people
to kill
start
it
making
so
it.
fast. I mean, that's the thing. They're ruthless. So like if they, because that's another thing I think we have to see is because it's in about the middle of the top 10 right now, I think, on Netflix. But I think
Yeah,
there's
it's about 8 or 9 on the UK, which
oh,
isn't that
really?
good.
That's not that good. And then the
No.
thing is, too, a lot of hate watching is going on right now. So
Yeah,
they will know. Like Netflix will basically know before, like we know if it's an object failure. And it's
yeah.
not about views. It's about trends and all these other things that are going on because they're just really smart and they have data that like they don't release publicly, which is like why some of their decisions are like don't make as much sense. And then I also think they can backtrack on stuff too. So they could say something's canceled, and then if they see something in the data that's like, oh, well, it's actually crazy or whatever, like that show, I don't know if it's
Yeah,
Manifest
Lucifer.
or whatever, or yeah, well, they brought
Yeah,
that back,
Manifest as
right?
well.
So I think there's the possibility of them. I mean, we'll just have to see. We'll know. We will know. I don't think it's going to be mysterious on whether or not this is a success or a failure after the season is done, for sure. Dante says, let's talk about the Transformers movie from 1986. They did the same thing with Optimus Prime, but in movie form. How isn't allowed to do that today? So that's actually a great point because it wasn't just Prime. I think a ton of the Transformers get ripped apart by Unicron. If I remember correctly, like Unicron is just murdering dudes all over the place. But I think honestly, my opinion here, and it's just my opinion, but I'm sure people hated that. You know what I mean? I'm sure people hated that. And I also think that you can earn that. Like you can do something crazy and earn it by making it just undeniably good. It's almost like that Sinatra quote where he's like, you have to be so good they can't deny it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you approached it like that and you made it like just ironclad incredible, then I think you sort of earn the sort of flipping of the expectations or sort of utilizing fan expectations. I think you can
Well,
earn
Game
it.
of Thrones did it.
Yeah.
Not season 8, but
Right.
Game of Thrones subverted expectations a lot of times and got away with it. So they killed Ned Stark at the end of the first season, which was, whoa, what are you doing? Red Wedding, whoa.
Yeah.
These are all my favorite characters. What? You've killed them all. Jon Snow, they killed, but then they brought back.
Yeah.
Subverting expectations again because you thought, well, this guy's dead for good.
Right.
And then who else was Joffrey as well? That was another one when they just killed him. So Game of Thrones managed to subvert expectations quite a lot and get away with it until season 8.
Correct. And I think it lived on its own quality, but just like all these other things, like when the quality started to deteriorate, that's when the fans sort of lost their faith in these sort of twists and turns and things. And there were a lot of things in the last couple of seasons that seemed to be just lazy. And that's like one of the, I think that's one of the worst things you can be accused of as a writer is lazy. You know what I mean? Or, you know, being reductive and that kind of stuff. So Dante, I totally understand your point, man. And by the way, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, if you don't feel the same way or whatever, you know, I'm a pretty professional fence rider over here. So like I welcome all sides of the argument as long as you can be respectful, you know. Sheev says, help me convince Josh that Bad Batch is good. Much love. Paul, you've been doing breakdowns of Bad Batch. You like it?
I enjoy it. I don't know if you've got expectations too high, but I think it's just a fun cartoon, an adventure.
I think that's pretty much right where I'm at with it as well. But I think that in my Star Wars content, I think what's happening is like people like Sheev or whatever, like they see me do like videos or whatever, and I'm like not talking about Bad Batch, and I'm talking about other things because I'm like, Bad Batch just really ain't it for me, and that feels bad. Like it feels like I'm shitting on it, but I'm not. Like I just think it's fine for what it is. My expectations were never super high for it. It's fine. Like the show's totally fine. But I think that's not good enough for some people. I'm not saying for you, Sheev, but for some people, they're like, that's not good enough, bro. You gotta ride or die. Like you gotta love it or you gotta shit on it. You know what I mean? It's kind of where people want me to be. But
like if you missed it, it wouldn't affect your day in any way.
No, not at all.
I think it's what it's basically for you.
I honestly haven't watched the last 2 episodes. I've watched actually your videos, breaking them down instead of
Make sure you like them.
Yes, And yes. X-Wing, very generous, $25 holla says, sorry I've been gone so long. I had to take a step back. Here's for the missed time. Take my money. Well, thank you, man. And I totally understand taking a step back. I mean, dude, life is crazy. And I'm sort of taking a step back this week as well with just kind of cutting back on stream. So I totally understand that, man. It's all good. I appreciate the support. Michael Phantom says, I feel like the whole woke/anti-woke thing is a huge amount of people that are looking for it, so they are finding it in everything. You see what you want. I
agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think people are like, even The Last Jedi. People
like Brie Larson videos, man. It was getting to a point where Brie Larson was doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But people were realizing that it was a popular video topic.
Oh, yeah.
So they were just saying anything like Brie Larson dyes her hair. Brie Larson starts a YouTube channel and say, ugh.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the woke stuff. It's like, no one cares. Like some of this stuff isn't woke. Loki isn't woke. I don't care. Loki isn't woke.
Yeah, I agree.
People just won't let it drop.
Yeah, I think there's a part of it is I actually honestly think it's a lot of algorithm stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, I think even these people, if they just shut off the sort of faucet that is that sort of rage funneling of like, oh, if I feel this way, I'm gonna watch this thing because it's engaging me, it's enraging me, and then therefore I'm really interested in it, right? The truth is, like, YouTube and Facebook and all these companies, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're recommending. Like, here's the thing: those channels,
they want to keep you on the platform as long as possible and advertise to you.
Yeah, exactly. So they just create a lot of incentives for people out there to do this. So I can't necessarily even blame the people for doing it. I ultimately blame the companies. You know what I mean? And they've just decided that the revenue and sort of gobbling up as much of the attention economy as they can is worth every negative possible factor that's happening, and they're not even giving that much thought to it. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion. So yeah, that's why I always try to be fair. Like, I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I have friends in the fandom menace. I have anti-SJW friends, and I'm just not that guy. Like, I can't sit there and act like I see a narrative in something that I don't honestly see, And I'm not saying they all do that. Maybe all of them honestly believe that. But for me, it's like, nah, bro, like, I can't be that guy. But I also can't be the other side of that. I can't be the other side of it that just throws that ism umbrella out there and tries to say everybody that thinks that is this way. And it's like, for me, I always try to like look to the adult in the room. Like, who should be the adult in the room? And in these instances, I think it should be the companies, the corporations that are depending on the fans and the fan base to exist. And it just feels like in a lot of these examples, like, they're not really being the adult in the room. And a lot of the fans are being children. But I can't blame the fans for being children. They're children in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like, bro, I'm a child about this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? For real, for real. Like, I love this kind of stuff. I'm literally a man-child for a living. So, like, I get it, and I get very, very intense about certain things. It's just, yeah, it's a complicated thing, and I know it fires everybody up. You know what I mean? But I just got to be real about it. Like, it ain't that deep in a lot of ways, for sure.
No doubt.
What comics do I need to read to get familiar with Secret Wars? Sorry, I'm a noob to comics. So there's a couple of different Secret War runs. When I talk about Secret Wars, and by the way, I'm hoping I made contact yesterday. We made contact with Rob Jefferson from Comics Explained, and I'm hoping to have him
All right, cool.
Yeah. I'm hoping to have him on a stream sometime this week to talk about Secret Wars and the Kang War and multiversal stuff. And Rob will educate even me on comic book stuff because that's
he's great.
Yeah, like that's his whole thing. But I would say when I talk about Secret Wars, I talk a lot about the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars, and it's basically there's this huge. It was like a 3-year long string of stories where Jonathan Hickman took over Avengers, New Avengers, Avengers World. And he wrote this big tapestry of a story that is essentially now it's called Time Runs Out, I think is what they refer to it as. And it's all about the multiverse blowing up, basically. A slow, like, self-destruct sequence of the multiverse. And it's all about...
there was one odd world or something, wasn't there? And that just kept knocking...
Yeah, there were these convergence that kept happening. And one of the first ones happened with our Earth, which was these universes collide, and the collision point is Earth for whatever reason. And if both Earths collide, both universes disappear. But if one of the Earths is eliminated, both universes are Gucci and they will stay there at least for some time. And so you later learn that it has to do with Molecule Man and the Beyonders, but it's a fantastic run. And not to get super sweaty, and I'm, maybe I'll talk more about this with Rob or whatever, but like for me, the whole Secret Wars is really a conversation about what to do with ultimate power and the difference between Doctor Doom and Reed Richards. It's really just about that, but yeah, that's kind of what I would say is read that Hickman stuff. But there's a lot of good Secret Wars stuff. You know what I mean? It's
fun. No doubt.
John White says, sent you a DM on Discord about Kang Doom team up in the MCU. Do you guys think Loki season 2 will come out before Ant-Man 3? P.S. Smash the like button now.
Yeah, it is. I think it is due to come out before it. I think Ant-Man 3 is February 2023, and I think Loki it starts filming January 2022. So I think it'll probably come out either the December or the January of 2022/2023.
Yeah, I saw a video you had done about this and referencing the Coulson thing that he had said about that 10 to 12 episodes or whatever. And yeah, I think you're spot on. Dude, I'm so pumped for season. I think season 2 is going to be season 2 of Loki is going to be like sort of that next stop on the like, okay, so we're definitely headed towards a multiversal war, right? You know what I mean? And Loki, basically season 2 is going to be like, yeah, here's what's going on with the multiversal war. And I think it's a very important step towards Secret Wars or whatever they're doing next. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. Really excited for it.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time this morning, my friend. I know you're a busy guy, always killing it out there in the YouTube game. Do you have anything going on that people should be checking out or anything going on? No.
Check out the channel. Just check it out. That's all you need to do.
Awesome. Appreciate all the support today, guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, and you'll get a lot of videos. I'm going to break down a lot of the leaks. I don't know if you saw them, but there's a ton of leaks. I mean, you've already seen the whole movie at this point, probably. But there's so many leaks about Spider-Man and all these different things coming out. So I'm going to do breakdown videos of all that for you on the main channel, guys. But thank you guys so much. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.
Bye.